All right, this is an audio recording of my general feedback for exam number 1. Just first of all, as a reminder of the grading scale, each question was graded out of 10 points. And so if you've got A range grades, a 9, somewhere between a 9 and a 10, these are the answers that have gone above and beyond. The B range grades in the 8, they represent going beyond the minimum requirements, but lacking extra attention to detail. C range grades cover the minimum requirements, so you answer all the questions essentially. D range grades mean that it's just barely passable. It's just not meeting the minimum requirements. And then E range grades are not passing grades. In terms of the exam, it was very difficult, but this is our first exam, and for the next two, we'll shift a little bit given our current circumstances and make them more of essays, written essays than exams. But essentially, here's the breakdown. So both questions had a 3-part answer, for question 1, your answers were likely to come from either the religion as group phenomenon or becoming religious chapters or the lecture notes. So your answer should have had at least 3 paragraphs, and so just keep that in mind for future exams. As you answer each part of the question, you should separate your answers into different paragraphs. This can help you see too where you need to add more detail. So the first paragraph needs to answer that why question, and specifically this needed to have something about being concerned with recruiting or reproducing members because the group needs to survive. So that was really the main answer there. The second paragraph needed to answer the how groups go about recruiting and or reproducing members, and there were a variety of responses you could have used here, such as the annexation, immigration, proselytizing, using missionaries, using political means, using force, reproduction, recruitment, socialization in either formal or informal ways, or marriage. And then the third paragraph should have described the three of the challenges that religious groups are likely to face. Again, there were a variety of answers here. You could have talked about things such as the degree of consensus among members, increasing group deviance, increasing ratio of formal norms to informal norms, the specialization of roles, the need for coordination, socialization challenges, the symbolic dilemma. You could have talked about bureaucracy, leadership, lots of different types of answers here, and so as long as you described 3 of those and why they were challenges, then you would receive points on that. For the second question, again, this is just some general feedback because of the variety of possible answers. Your answers are likely to come from the Zellner chapters if you talked about the Unitarian Universalists or Jehovah's Witnesses, or it was likely to come from the Johnstone chapters if you talked about another group. So first of all, you should have stated what the group was, and then your first paragraph should have been how this group fits a sociological understanding of a religious group. So that's the first question there. There were a few different ways you could have explained this. You could have focused on how religious groups need to have this element of the sacred. You could have focused on how religion is a group phenomenon, going through how it fits the 6 major features of a group. You could have relied on the definition of a religion and then explain how the group fits that, or you could have focused on what Johnstone called the sociological perspective in general in his first chapter. The second paragraph should have focused on the group's organizational structure. So you should have talked about something having to do things with like their leadership, their hierarchy or lack of, their authority structure, any internal regulations, their finances, something about how the group is structured. And then the third paragraph should have described where they fit on the church to sect continuum and why they fit there, especially including their degree of tension with society if it was a low or high tension group. And so that's in general the how you should have answered those questions. So I would advise you to look at the points that I gave you, go to your assignment in the assignment feedback in the assignment section on Sakai, and look at your points, your point breakdown, and then look back at your essay. And if you have further individual questions that you want to talk about, let's meet one-on-one to do that.